Our song selection, Trying to Get Ready.
Trying to get ready, trying to get ready, trying to get ready, yeah, ready to try on my long the wide road.
I'm trying to get
ready, trying to get ready, trying to get ready, yeah, ready to try on my long the wide road.
I believe, I do believe.
Ready to try on my long the wide road.
My soul, King Yahshua will receive.
Ready to try on my long the wide road.
Oh, Jordan River is chilly and cold.
Ready to try on my long the wide road.
It chilled my body, but not my soul.
Ready to try on my long the wide road.
I'm trying to get
ready, trying to get ready, trying to get ready, yeah, ready to try on my long the wide road. Ready to try on my long the wide road. Ready to try on my long the wide road.
Yah, make me ready to try on my long wide road.
The oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua HaMashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. It truly is a blessing to be able to keep Yahweh's holy Sabbath. We have to understand that during times of punishment, these are the very things that Yahweh took away from the children of Israel. He gave us these things, and then because we would not walk in them wholeheartedly, eventually small punishments were not doing anything. So eventually he took away our ability to be able to keep our Sabbaths, our new moons, our holy feasts, by spreading us out amongst the heathens. And when we were spread out amongst those places, excuse me, we were forced to keep the religions of the people who ruled over us. Even here in the daughter of Babylon, we have various religions that we have learned, and it all basically is contingent upon who our slave masters worship. So whatever those slave masters worship, those are the things that we grew up learning, and we will to this day fight for things and fight for decisions that we had absolutely no part in making. We did not make those decisions. We did not decide that we were going to be Baptist. We did not decide that we were going to be Pentecostal. We did not decide even what religion or what branch of a religion we were going to be. Those decisions were all made for us. And we will fight to the death about decisions that were made for us by the people who ruled over us with rigor. And this is a sign of a captive people. We're going to begin today's sermon in Jeremiah chapter 51. Now, Jeremiah 50 and 51 has a lot of information in it. The issue is they are, long. So I've gotten to the point where I won't do those a lot of times in the same sermon, because they will end up taking up a lot of time in dealing with both of those. Today's sermon is Life After America, which is a strange concept to a lot of people, because they cannot imagine the world without a United States of America. And when you get right down to it, it is the last stronghold type kingdom that came upon the earth. We know that all of the other nations, they've been where they are. All the other kingdoms, it was one place, just went to conquer another place. But this one is quite different from everything else that has been upon the earth. Its origin is not a situation where one country went to take over another country. This place was built solely from immigrants, which is interesting when the people who came over here and killed what natives they saw. It makes it very interesting when those people yell to other people, calling them an immigrant and telling them to go back home. They really don't understand their own history and how this place began. But it also shows that after a while, people make their own history if you leave them alone long enough. Jeremiah chapter 51, and let's start that at verse 1.
Thus says Yahweh, Behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me a destroying wind, and will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about.
Right, so we have to deal with this in several layers. We can deal with a fanner as being, of course, a tornado type thing, but then we also have to go into the Hebrew definition here at let's go, make sure you go to that next graphic at verse 2. We got fanners, which is H2114. It says zur, which is a primitive root to turn aside, especially for lodging, hence to be a foreigner, strange, profane, to commit adultery, fanner, go away, strange. So then you have these things where it says, I will send fanners. Now, you have the whole part, if we jump to the next graphic, of fan, when it says to fan her, that is H2219, which is zara, and it says a primitive root to toss about. By implication, to diffuse, winnow, cast away, disperse, fan, scatter away, to spread. So when you deal with those things, we have to look at that in a natural connotation, but then we also have to look at that when we watch these so-called riots. We looked and seen that there was a very diverse mix of people there, but we also noticed that there was a very slickly planted little deceptive group as well. And we don't know if there were many different groups there, but you can see that there were Gentiles covered from head to foot, and those people were setting fires, spreading, spray painting, doing all kind of things. We have to consider, all we know about them is that they were Gentiles. But when you talk about fanners to spread, to disperse, and cast away, Russia has gotten very, very bold with its exploits in going against America. Everybody knows what she did to the election. And Russia has been making quite a few moves in their own country. So, and we know that even within that first, during the Trump election, that they automatically got into Black Lives Matter. Anything that they could cause a trouble with, they did. So this is a part of bringing down this huge stronghold. When you consider Rome and how it fell from within. When you deal with the Senate, all of these things came from Rome. The whole makeup of what is sitting here is what they had in Rome, and they knew exactly, reading their history books, they know exactly how it fell. And it seems that they are going through the exact same process of causing them to fight against one another. And why not? This is what she has done all over the world. Go to another country, turn those people against one another. They start fighting. You get whatever their natural resources are at a cheap price. So this has been her MO all over the world. But it looks like that part is now turning against her. Because now the other countries are starting to do to her what she has been doing to them. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Against him that bends, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifts himself up in his brigandine, and spare you not her young men, destroy you utterly all her hosts.
Right. You have to deal with as many of the children of Israel that have lost her young men. And America has not cared. As long as this been happening, they're talking about this thing now because of how brutal the one thing that was shown has been. All of them have been brutal.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, if there's death, you know, you want to make one more brutal than the other, but anytime you're killing unarmed people, it is the move of a coward. So all of them have been brutal. But because this one, like the other ones, was filmed, that's the only way there was even an uproar. Had anybody said that had happened, everybody would have kept on going their own way. It would have been business as usual in America, like nothing happened. Go ahead.
That's the problem. People ain't got nowhere to go. Because if it was business as usual, this would have bypassed too.
Well, you know, it's the brutalness of the video agitated a lot of things. And even the smirk,
Mm-hmm.
you know, while it was happening, knowing that, you know, hey, 99 times out of 100, I'm getting off. You know, and people keep thinking that the charges mean something. The last murder that was caught on tape, you know, they charged him. And all they did was hold him for a little while, give him a mock trial with all their friends. Their friends said that they are innocent, and then they go home.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel has not been forsaken, nor Yehuda of his Elohim, of Yahweh of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul.
Right. The first way to flee out of the midst of Babylon, to deliver your soul, is in our heart and minds. Our problem is we have gotten attached to all of the things of America, and it is very hard for us to deal with anything other than. So this is our first opportunity of separation, is not taking a hold of all of her delicacies. Go ahead.
Be not cut off in her lawlessness, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon has been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, that made all the earth drunken.
Mm-hmm.
The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad.
Right. When we deal with what is happening with this whole situation of Babylon, you have the original Babylon that ruled from Iraq, but what you're talking about is basically the kingdoms that come and fight for that power and being able to rule most of the earth. And that is what they have continually been fighting for, who gets to make the decisions and run the earth. You know, America has controlled this thing for a great amount of time, to the fact that her money is used as the payment for oil, which she does not have. And when that is ultimately changed, you're talking about a falling in the economy like you've never seen before, because it is propped up by other people's items. And when you remove that, that is going to be removing a kickstand, and it shall not stand without it. Go ahead.
Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she's not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reaches on to heaven and is lifted up even to the skies.
Right. So when you deal with how she will be ultimately in the beginning part forsaken. It says, forsake her and let us go everyone into his own country. This is also a clue that this place was built out of people from another country. If everybody goes to its home country, there will be no one here. They killed off all the natives. There are very few of them left. So if everyone else goes back to his own country, she will ultimately be forsaken because there will be no one else here. As many people claim this is our country, this is that. If you go amongst and have a conversation with Euro Gentiles, you're going to find that they can tell you exactly in Europe where they are from. They know where they came from. And this, when things start to get really bad, this is what leaves the children of Israel dangling in the mist. This is where Yahweh is going to have to come and fill this gap. See, all the other nationalities, all the other ethnic groups in the daughter of Babylon know where they came from, so they know where to go. Everybody knows that except us. That's why even when you look at certain things that happen to people from other nations, you find that it's a little different when it happens with us. See, those other nations have people to speak up from them. See, you do something to a Mexican, and we always trying to put Hispanics in our struggle. You know, this is something that we always trying to do. But guess what? They have a country. They have, you know, some people who will come and speak on their behalf. Hey, somebody did this to a Mexican. Somebody did this to this Hispanic, or somebody from this country. Who gonna come up and speak for us? Ain't no country called African American. Ain't no Black American country. So they know that there's nobody who's going to come and speak for us. So then they get to govern themselves. And whenever you let the fox go out the hen house, plan on some hens being missing every night. But he guarding it now. He making up a whole lot of noise. But he taking hens every night. Go ahead.
You know, that's what we don't look at, like you're talking about. They have representatives. All these different countries have consulate generals within the country. And if you go to another country, the U.S. has an embassy within that country.
Exactly. And that embassy, that purpose is to speak up for its citizens if something happens in that country. So if they do something to too many of these people, guess what happens? There's a delegate that's standing at a high political rank person's office saying, hey, y'all need to explain what happened to such and such. Sooner or later, that stop happening to them people because they get tired of them delegates standing there. Because there's powers and countries behind that. So now you got to deal with that whole country if those things keep happening. The fact that we don't have anybody to speak up for us lets the nations know, hey, it's free reign on them. Go ahead.
Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 10. Yahweh has brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us declare in Zion the work of Yahweh, our Elohim. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. Yahweh has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes for his devices against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple.
Right. And when you do outside research, when you run into looking at who the Medes are, they're going to try to continually push toward Iran and Iraq. But we know that them and Russia are hand in hand. And it talks about an assembly of countries coming with these Medes. And Russia is making its push. Russia has taken Georgia, which is right near Turkey. They had their assault in Crimea. and they did another little thing. They already are the hugest land source right over in this area, and they're still making their push. And everybody knows that is the biggest adversary to America. And they are definitely pushing their military might, and they have influenced America's election. Something that no other country could boast that they have done. No other country can say that they came in and affected the greatest election. Because there's one man who will dog out anybody in the whole world. He will say anything about any representative, and these are allies. He will dog them out. He won't say anything against that Russian. And is making moves to try to get the Russian into the G7, where other nations don't want him in. He's then being his source. So it's like this dude worked for Russia. Russia already in the White House. So their invasion has already begun. Go ahead.
Verse 12. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. Make the watch strong. Set up the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes.
Prepare the ambushes. See, those are some things that it takes time to set up. And there are some things being set up while the rest of America is watching this and watching us. They haven't even seen their greatest opponent setting up shop. Go ahead.
For Yahweh has both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. All you that dwelleth upon many waters, abundant in treasures, your end is come, and the measure of your covetousness. Yahweh of hosts has sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill you with men, as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against you. He has made the earth by his power, he has established the world by his wisdom, and has stretched out the heaven by his understanding. When he utters his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He makes lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. Every man is brutish by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity, the work of errors. In the time of their visitation they shall perish. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things. And Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Yahweh of hosts is his name.
Right. When you deal with these things that Israel is the rod of his inheritance, the nations knew this when they invaded Israel over and over and over again. Understand that some of Israel's problems with the Euro Gentiles, some of those things we made. We had so many issues with the Greeks that it reads in First Maccabees that our people went out and sought help from the Romans. So we went to try to get help from one devil and recruited another devil. And all you got to do is go back and look at, what happened during the times of Yahshua being in the land. Our problem was the Romans, but it was the Greeks before that. Go ahead.
You are my battle axe and weapons of war. For with you will I break in pieces the nations, and with you will I destroy kingdoms.
So at this point, you have a bunch of people who have been ruled over for all these many, many generations, and then now Yahweh is going to remove that yoke from off the children of Israel, specifically Judah, because out of Judah comes the kings, and then it's time for Judah to fight. And our people have not fought collectively in over 2,000 years. And in this, Yahweh is going to be magnified. Because on one end, you got our people innocently dying in the street, and it looks like absolutely nothing can happen. This is why you read those things where it says, I will be sanctified in you. What you mean you're going to be sanctified in us? They're going to realize who I am through you. Because at this point, with all of the things that's happening, it looks like this powerless group of people. They're doing a whole lot of things. And then Yahweh is going to remove that weight off of us. And then we're going to see, oh, we wasn't able to do nothing because he didn't let us do nothing. When that is removed, then the whole earth going to realize the only way they was able to hold those people down is because of Yahweh. Go ahead.
And with you will I break in pieces the horse and his rider.
Mm-hmm.
And
With you. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to use you to do it. So you can look at this like Yahweh's video game. He got the joystick and you the man. So you look at, and he got all the cheat codes. You know what I'm saying? So he know, when I play my kids, my thumbs always hurt because I just press a whole hell of a lot of buttons really, really fast. I don't really have any strategy. You know what I'm saying? I know when it's time for me to stop because my arm starts burning in this general area. All right, and I know it's time for me to stop because I don't know how to play this damn game. All right, I just keep pressing buttons. And I know that, my son know how to play it because he'll be looking at me, right? And then he'll just, that one hand go down and I'll be like, what the hell you just do right there? Oh yeah, that was L2. Wait a minute, ain't nobody explain L2 to me. Okay, so then all of a sudden his man do a backward flip and kick me in the head, and I was like, I ain't never seen that move before. Yeah, well see, Yahweh got the joystick, see, and you gonna notice all of a sudden Israel gonna do something, and we gonna be surprised when we do it. He's like, did that brother just slap a mountain? Bruh, how that mountain move? How that mountain? Yahweh just hit L3. You know what I'm talking about? Go ahead, bro.
And with you will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. Verse 22. With you also will I break in pieces man and woman. And with you will I break in peace old and young.
No, they're not going to be held exempt. Man and woman, old and young. No, all the suffering that Israel has had to go through, when it's time to go and take care of that business, it's going to be time to take care of that business. And if Yahweh pushing the string, hey, I've had my son playing the game. He's, man, I pushed the move and that guy didn't do it. If Yahweh push L3, you don't slap that mountain, get rid of him. Give me somebody else right there. I know what button I pushed. He should have done it. I pushed the button. That mountain was supposed to blow up. Why you stand there and look at the mountain? Get rid of him. I don't want him on my team no more. Go ahead.
And with you will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. I will also break in pieces with you the shepherd and his flock. And with you will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen.
Mm-hmm. All of these have benefited from the unrighteous rule over the children of Israel. See? So when Yahweh says it's time to move, it's time to move. Anything in front is getting trampled over. So everybody better make their decisions on what they're going to do now. Go ahead.
And with you will I break in pieces captains and rulers. And I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, says Yahweh. Behold, I'm against you, O destroying mountain.
Now, understand something. When you deal with the Chaldeans naturally, you're dealing with the descendants of Kesed, but then when you deal with Chaldea, they're also listed as astrologers. When you deal with what they did with astrology, they worship the host of heaven. And this is exactly what goes on here. It is a worship. The pyramid itself was built for sun worship. The whole design of the pyramid is for sun worship. The most power of the pyramid is not the very tip top of it. All of that is made and aligned according to all of the things that are in the heavens. So when you get to all of this, what they call them, zodiac signs that we deal with, it's all going back to this astrology and the stars. And, we pick up that kind of stuff and we don't know where we get it from. We don't understand that these people will worship this. This some of the brothers. This is the beginning of their game. Hey, sister, what's your sign? Yeah. Oh, what? You a Virgo? Right. Read, man.
Verse 25. Behold, I'm against you, O destroying mountain, says Yahweh, which destroyeth all the earth. And I'll stretch out mine hand upon you, and will roll you down from the rocks, and will make you a burnt mountain. And they shall not take of you a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but you shall be desolate forever, says Yahweh.
When it gets down to a point that something is so corrupt that they won't even take rocks. Understand, you go to a place for as a rock quarry, you set the rocks on fire, hit it, the rocks, the big rock break in pieces, you use those rocks to then build things. It said the rocks ain't gonna even be worth that. How you taint a rock? You got to see how bad that's going to be if the rocks are tainted. Go ahead.
Set you up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, Minini, and Ashkenaz.
Ashkenaz. Look, my elder used to say that part where we was talking about the hindermost of the nations shall draw them out. When you deal with Ashkenaz, we can already find that these so-called Ashkenazite Jews, man, they're some of the biggest adversaries of America that anybody can find. And people keep thinking that they are for America. They get America in more trouble. Almost brought us to war against Iran. And some of the stuff that they were doing, trying to bring down Iran's nuclear facility, America almost went to war with what Israel did. And this stuff happens over and over and over again. She moved, America just run right behind her. Don't ask any questions. And if you got a little brother who start fights all the time and you just run to his aid, sooner or later your little brother gonna get you into a fight that you can't handle. And knowing that, they just bullying everybody in the area. But sooner or later people get tired of that. Go ahead.
Appoint a captain against her, cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars.
Right. And those very ones, after they've gotten everything that they want from America, they're still going to go against her. It was when Netanyahu showed up unannounced to speak to Congress. They all but gave that man a standing ovation on every word that he said. And he had just almost brought America into a war. And nobody knew it. And Barack had to just sit there and not say anything. But the man came unannounced, and every 5 words, it was a standing ovation. He was letting them know, I control your country. I don't care nothing about you being the president. Everything I say, they're going to stand up and clap. And that's exactly what they did. So now, at this particular point, between Russians and the Jewish, they control the White House. But everybody got their eyes focused on something else. Go ahead.
Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of Yahweh shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without an inhabitant. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes. Their might has failed. They became as women. They have burnt her dwelling places. Her bars are broken.
And when you look at how they explain this, the flag is stars and bars. Those are not stripes. Ask anybody how they describe the flag is stars and bars. Go ahead.
One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon that his city is taken at one end.
And how we know that these things were not accomplished in ancient Babylon is it says nobody shall ever live there again. So if anybody try to tell you that this is Old Testament and it's talking about an event that has already happened, well, how are people still there? If that's what they're talking about. Correct?
And that the passages are stopped, and the reeds they have burnt with fire, and the men of war are affrighted. For thus says Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor.
Now, this is our indication here that we are dealing with a country that was spawned out of another country. It says the daughter of Babylon. Now, before it starts talking about Babylon, then you get further down, it says the daughter of Babylon. And we know that this entire country was birthed out of another country. Where else can we find that anywhere else on earth? Where did Russia go and bring forth a little Russia? And we talking about this has become a powerful force, but it was never supposed to be separate from its European counterparts. It just got so disobedient, it forgot that it was supposed to be a colony. It said, no, I'm going to rule myself. I'm not going to help you rule. And it broke away from its mother. But they still deal hand in hand. Everything one does, the other one does with it. Go ahead.
The daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her. Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. Nebuchadrezzar, the king of Babylon, has devoured me. He has crushed me. He has made me an empty vessel. He has swallowed me up like a dragon. He has filled his belly with my delicates. He has cast me out. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon, shall the inhabitants of Zion say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say.
Right. If we go back, there's a reason why they did not want the Apocrypha, which contains 1st and 2nd Maccabees in it. There's a reason why they didn't want that in the canon. When you read the things of 1st Maccabees, it started off talking about Alexander the Macedonian. Gives you the exact time of everything. Go to encyclopediabritannica.com and look up Alexander the Macedonian, and it says Alexander the Great. So we know exactly what Gentiles came into Jerusalem and invaded it. We ain't got to guess. I'm talking about the first word of 1st Maccabees. Says Alexander the Macedonian. Stop right there. Go to Britannica.com. Put in Alexander the Macedonian. Alexander the Great come up. It say Alexander the Macedonian after his father Philip. Pause. Go back over to Britannica.com. Who was Alexander the Great daddy? Philip. So who invaded it? Who brought all of the problems? First, the Greeks, then the Romans. We ain't got to guess at that. And now we want to believe that the very same people who have invaded it, generation after generation, all of a sudden felt bad and went and got some Jews out of Germany. So if they invaded it, they know exactly where they ran to. Now, the interesting thing is, we know who invaded it, right? We know that it was the Greeks. If Jerusalem is here and Greece is here, and then they come down to invade it, how the hell did the people run back up into Europe and pass the invading army? Come on. I'm gonna need some of that rare sense because common ain't good enough. Okay, so they come down this way. Here's Israel. What's under it? Africa. So where the hell you run to? That's common damn sense. Let me let a dog go in here and see where the hell we're gonna run to. Are we gonna run toward the damn dog or away from the dog? Come on, man. Read, brother.
Verse 36. Therefore thus says Yahweh, behold, I'll plead your cause and take vengeance for you, and I'll dry up her sea and make her springs dry. And Babylon shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, an astonishment, and an hissing, without an inhabitant. They shall roar together like lions, they shall yell as lions' whelps. In their heat I will make their feast, and I'll make them drunken, that they may rejoice and sleep a perpetual sleep, and not wake, says Yahweh. I'll bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams with he-goats. How is Shishak taken? And how is the praise of the whole earth surprised?
How is the praise of the whole earth surprised? When you are so arrogant that everybody has to speak your language, you have to think about it. People speak English everywhere. And we're so arrogant, we go to other people's country and wonder why they don't speak English. What's wrong with you? You don't understand English? You're not in England, idiot. Go ahead.
And how has Babylon become an astonishment among the nations? The sea has come up upon Babylon. She's covered with the multitude of the waves thereof.
And if you, we ended up, we've been to Destin several times, and going near there when there's any kind of storm and you see the waves, you start to see the power of Yahweh, and that's just regular stuff. When you start talking about a real angry, vengeful Yahweh, and the waves start to be the size of buildings, oh, that ain't nothing to play with. Go ahead.
Her cities are a desolation, a dry land, and a wilderness, a land where no man dwelleth, neither does any son of man pass thereby. And I'll punish Baal in Babylon, and I'll bring forth out of his mouth that which he has swallowed up.
Right. They worship Baal, which is Baal, which is what we know to be Lord. See, they always find a way to slide their little gods in, and they tell you that the names don't matter. But Yahweh says something altogether different, and his prophet says something altogether different. He says, I'm going to take the names of Baalim out of her mouth. She shall no longer know me by those false names. But people will stand upon this title, this thing of Lord. And he ate it. Go ahead.
And the nations shall not flow together any more unto him. Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall. My people, go you out of the midst of her, and deliver you every man his soul from the fierce anger of Yahweh.
So first thing, we have to be ready when Yahweh does get to the point of directing the children of Israel. And we know that's going to be very difficult, because our people we have deep Stockholm syndrome. Okay? So when you talk about leaving the daughter of Babylon, we've gotten so accustomed. Think about, we've gone through all of these things, and it looks like we're accomplishing some things. Even though there are a lot of our people that are going through things, we have accomplished some things. Last thing we want to do is to walk away from that. Understand, we're the same people that wanted to go back into Egypt just because they had garlic and leeks. See, we'll be them same people. Yahweh sent us out of here, and it'd be somebody out there fighting. They ain't got no McDonald's out here. With an all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese. Go ahead, bro.
At least your heart faint, and you fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall both come in 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor and violence in the land, ruler against ruler.
Which is something that Babylon deserves, because she has perpetuated violence against everybody. It's her time. Go ahead.
Therefore, behold, the days come that I'll do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon, and her whole land shall be confounded, and all her slain shall fall in the midst of her.
Right, and it's graven images everywhere. The place is modeled after Egypt. You can find a pyramid and a phallic type building, which is like the so-called Washington Monument. You can find it in every city in America. You can find robust pyramids all over this country. Deacon Benea had said, he showed the kids the in his department the pyramid in Tennessee, and they were like, "What in the world is this?" But they in almost every major city. You go into almost every major city skyline, and you're gonna find the pyramid and the phallic symbol. Downtown Atlanta got some put together, pyramid and a phallic symbol on top of each other that light up at night. Go ahead.
Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 8. Then the heaven and the earth and all that is therein shall sing for Babylon, for the spoilers shall come unto her from the north, says Yahweh.
Right. The spoilers shall come to her from the north. What's the most northern tip of the earth anyway? What sits there? Russia. Go ahead.
As Babylon has caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babylon shall fall the slain of all the earth.
Mm-hmm.
You that have escaped the sword, go away, stand not still. Remember Yahweh afar off, and let Jerusalem come into your mind.
Right. Russia made a statement and said that in this next conflict that may happen, America will not be able to sit quietly from across the waters. So you got to think about every time that she has invaded somebody, none of the people in America has ever had to feel any war on their own soil. Her fight has been with her own self, fighting with her mother or fighting amongst herself, which is a civil war. That's fighting from within your house. That's something totally different. Fighting your little brother or your little sister is totally different from fighting that dude down the street. When that dude fights you down the street, he is not considering that mama gonna be mad if you break his jaw. Now that dude down the street is really trying to break your jaw, okay? He don't care. And it says she has been able to fight comfortably every time. She get in the Vietnam War, she sent her people to Vietnam. So they tearing up Vietnam. You go to Iraq, you go over there and fight in their land. You tear their stuff up. Meanwhile, we're at Starbucks. Ooh, need some more sugar. It's different when you at Starbucks and something go shh. They ain't never had to deal with that. Russia said you get into another conflict, you won't be sitting comfortably no more while everybody else land get tore up. Now this them speaking. These ain't my words. Go ahead, bro.
They said, don't they say American soldiers that they're fighting for our freedom?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they continue to say.
Right.
And what situation are we in that we don't have the freedom, that
right.
they're talking about that they're fighting for?
It is amazing how that, the fight for freedom goes. And it's like, so who has oppressed you? Well, at what point have you been oppressed? Who has oppressed you that you need to go and fight for freedom? It's a very well-crafted lie is what it is. Go ahead, bro.
It's the freedom for us to continue to bully everybody else.
Right. To go in their country. That's what basically democracy is. The ability to go in and take over other people's economy. Because if there's a monarchy or something like that, obviously you cannot go and take over a monarchy. All right. You can't just go over there and move a king. But guess what you can do? If you set up a so-called democracy, you can then take over the country through the democracy that you set up. Democracy means I'm going to take over your country. That's what it means. We're going to go over there and set up democracy. In other words, we're going to go take out Saddam and we're going to put in a makeshift person and then we're going to run everything there. But we're going to call it a democracy. But see, the same thing is working against everybody here. This is called a democracy, yet other countries are starting to run it. When a president can come on TV and say, I can't work on the stimulus package because it's a Jewish holiday. Hey, man, everybody should have got, and that was a Republican president that said it. That was George Bush, who got on, and then he laughed after he said it. I cannot do the stimulus package right now because it's a Jewish holiday and no bankers are available. He laughed and nobody said a word about it. So other countries have realized a democracy, if you got enough money, you can control it. Go ahead.
Verse 51. We are confounded because we have heard reproach. Shame has covered our faces, for strangers are come into the sanctuaries of Yahweh's house.
Right. It's strangers over there in Yahweh's land calling themselves the children of Israel. Go ahead.
Wherefore, behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that I'll do judgment upon her graven images, and through all her land the wounded shall groan. Though Babylon should mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall spoilers come on to her, says Yahweh. A sound of a cry comes from Babylon, and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans, because Yahweh had spoiled Babylon, and destroyed out of her the great voice. When her waves do roar like great waters, a noise of their voice is uttered. Because the spoilers come upon her, even upon Babylon, and her mighty men are taken. Every one of their bows is broken, for Yahweh Elohim of recompense shall surely requite. And I'll make drunk her princes, and her wise men, her captains, and her rulers, and her mighty men, and they shall sleep a perpetual sleep, and not wake, says the King, whose name is Yahweh of hosts. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, the broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burnt with fire. And the people shall labor in vain, and the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary. The word which Jeremiah the prophet commanded Sariah, the son of Neriah, the son of Messiah, when he went with Zedekiah the king of Yehuda into Babylon in the 4th year of his reign. And this Sariah was a quiet prince.
Now, they'll tell you that he has many names, yet in this one verse, there's about 4 names ending Yah. And they say, he has many names. The names doesn't matter. It says he has many of them. Well, why we don't find Jerem Lord? Or maybe Surah Lord? Or maybe Nera Lord? Or Zeta Lord? We don't see none of those, huh? I guess somewhere it matters, huh? Go ahead.
Verse 60. So Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evil that should come upon Babylon, even all these words that are written against Babylon. And Jeremiah said to Sariah, when you come into Babylon, and shall see, and shall read all these words, then shall you say, O Yahweh, you have spoken against this place, to cut it off, that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but that it shall be desolate forever.
And in this we know that it is not speaking of any ancient Babylon, because this Babylon will be desolate forever. It is going to be a done deal after this happens, which altogether speaks of nuclear fallout. Because when nuclear fallout happens, that land is not inhabitable. You cannot inhabit that land after nuclear fallout. It is a done deal. They still can't go near Chernobyl, and it was an accidental nuclear fallout. They didn't even mean to do it. All they could do was build a wall around it and leave it alone. The animals are there, even the bricks. Remember, it says we could not even take a stone out of it. Do you know the rocks got radiation in it in Chernobyl? And that's an accident. The animals have multiplied. The animals have radiation inside of them. They had to put on the suits and measure the little animals. They go in there. You're like, man, that coyote got all kind of stuff in it. That coyote can live with that, though. You go over there without that suit, you're going to be dead before you make it back. Go ahead.
And it shall be, when you have made an end of reading this book, that you shall bind a stone to it and cast it into the midst of Euphrates. And you shall say,
Uh-huh.
thus shall Babylon sink.
You shall say, thus shall Babylon sink. And one of their military exercises, I think that was the Jade Helm thing that they was talking about, that they have practiced what will happen with this so-called new map of America that showed a great deal of it underwater. And what the hell were they practicing for? Because if something happened to that caldera and it activate the right fault lines, there's a whole lot of this that's going to be underwater. There's certain things that's almost underwater now. Louisiana got pumps because it is under sea level. It is already underwater. Point blank. So something happens and them pumps don't come on. It's underwater. Now, you add some other destruction unto that, and you're talking about a great deal of it underwater. Now you understand what it starts talking about. The waves thereof will cover it. And you got fault lines that can't nobody change. And you can't hide the fault lines because they see them from space. They already looking at where them fault lines at. Everybody know where everybody's fault lines at. Because that ain't nothing you can hide from satellite image. And they looking at the fault line. I can see that fault line right there. I'm looking at it. I can see it. You can put as many flowers as you want around it. You can decorate it. You can do whatever you want to do. That is a fault line. That's where them earthquakes happen. Go ahead, bro.
Last episode of MacGyver, last season, some people were going to Yellowstone to blow it up.
Uh-huh. And I know some of y'all didn't hear that. It said the last episode of MacGyver, they were showing that some people going to Yellowstone to blow up the caldera so they could divide the earth. And it would divide America if that thing blow. It is a super, they call it a super volcano. It is a super bomb is what it is. And if it blows, there's a whole part of the country that will no longer exist. You know? Yeah, this is the thing. They don't know when it's going to happen, you know, but they said it may blow on its own. But imagine what happened if you actually just keep shooting in it. Now, there are some that say some countries are shooting rays at certain things to heat them up purposely. So once something gets hot enough, it's going to start activating. What I noticed, I was coming back from Florida, and I had been talking about before, you know, I've been, you know, watching a lot of clouds lately because these are strangest looking clouds I have seen. Coming from Florida, when I get to the rural parts, ain't no whole bunch of people, no clouds. I'm driving. And I'm on a 100-mile stretch here on a country road. That's one of those things where you say, all right, anybody need to go potty? It's a good time. All right, time to get gas now, because we about to be on this one road right here for 98 miles. And ain't no telling what's on this. This ain't no highway. This one of them state roads. Riding through, no cloud. I look down and I see clouds in a line. I mean, look like they just lined up. I said, how much you want to bet when we get down there, it's a city? Clouds follow the cities. What the hell are they trying to block? It's more densely populated in every last one of them cities. Every last one of the cities I got to had clouds lined up, single file line. I mean, they lined up like they about to march. Get into the country areas again, clear sky. Right. I don't know what game they playing, but they definitely playing a game. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 64. And you shall say, thus shall Babylon sink, and shall not rise from the evil that I will bring upon her, and they shall be weary. Thus far are the words of Yahweh.
Right, and those things are not going to be accomplished until Yahweh has set forth when those things are accomplished. But just the fact that they would put those things in their programs, that they would put those things in their television programs and their movies, they all know that it exists and they know that it's there, and they're just counting the days until those things present themselves. and with somebody as powerful as the Soviet Union is, we know that they know that all those things are there. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 20. Ezekiel chapter 20, and let's start that at verse 33.
Verse 33. As I live, says the Adonai Yah, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you.
In other words, I'm going to deal with the children of Israel. Okay? This is not just going to be some pretty thing that we look out and it happens unto the nations and we just get to sit on the sidelines and, get us some pom-poms and go Yahweh. No. No. Put your pom-poms down. Go ahead.
And I'll bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries wherein you're scattered.
And this is going to be a tumultuous thing. Yahweh said, I'm going to bring you out of the countries. So when we read earlier, when people say, it says, deliver you out of the daughter of Babylon. He said, deliver you when I come get you. Okay? Get your mind right, because I am going to gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered. Oh, this is not going to be pretty. He may gather us because they kick us out of here. Because let me tell you something. I got some text message, I hadn't even gone into it yet, that another young man was killed by the police. Let me tell you something. They're going to keep doing that until people start going off on those police, and then all out war going to start. And before you know it, they're going to be saying, you know what, it's time to get these Negroes out of here. We tired of them, time them to go. Just give them some money and a boat and you get the hell out of here. All we waiting for is the right altercation. And it ain't too much more that people going to keep looking at when their kids keep going to the store. I think one of the brothers sent the picture where there's a white woman that's pregnant saying that if my child had gone to the park or gone to get some Skittles or had done something and didn't come back, and the last thing they yelled was my name, I set the city on fire too. And there's a white lady holding up this sign. Go ahead, bro.
That place, it was a young brother in Southern California, and they say he committed suicide. But the town that it was in is almost none of us.
Yeah, that was the one that they found hanging from a tree. Yeah, I ain't even talking about that one. I just got one about something happened in Atlanta, but I heard that one too. Just last night. Yeah, that was the one I was hearing about. A brother getting shot and killed. I had them forgot about the one that they said hung himself, and they so quick to say it was suicide before they do any examining. Yeah, this it says, if my son, this is the picture. If my son went for some Skittles and didn't return, or played in the park and didn't return, or went for a jog and didn't return, or reached for his license and didn't return, and with his last dying breath called out my name, then in red, the white lady wrote, I would burn down the damn city too. See, and that was Sarah that said that. See, that wasn't Kiki. So I know y'all want to put that. I know y'all want to put that on Kiki. That wasn't Kiki. So that wasn't Kiki. Kiki didn't say that. Right. No, man, people getting tired of this. But some of those things are being done on purpose to provoke us. That guy coming into the church, sitting there acting like he going to Bible study, and then brutally murdering all of those people at that church, that was supposed to send us into a race war. They are attempting to bait us. And sooner or later, somebody gonna hit the right button. You know, you when you play it like I play video games, you just press all of them. You know what I'm saying? You just sooner or later you gonna get the right. You know, even if it's an accident, you know what I'm saying? You gonna hit the right button sooner or later. Go ahead.
Verse 34. And I'll bring you out from the people and will gather you out of the countries wherein you're scattered.
And I had questions about this. You know, what's going to happen? We had a lot of questions after the last sermon. Verse 34. I will bring you out from the people, and this is one thing. We have to understand that Yahweh is going to orchestrate this, and I will gather you out of the countries wherein you are scattered. So this verse lets us know that Israel was never prophesied to come out of one place. So when they said they went to Germany and got the Jews, automatically we should have a problem. So where else did you get them from? Oh no, just Germany. Well, that's a problem. Because either Yahweh lied or you lied. Go ahead.
With a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out.
Okay, so with a mighty hand and with stretched out arm and with fury poured out. That means it's not going to be nice. He not sitting there. So people like, you know what, things going to get rough and I'm just going to buy me a ticket and I'm just going to get out of here. This part right here, with a mighty hand with stretched out arm and with fury poured out, it's probably not going to be a nice situation. Go ahead.
And I'll bring you into the wilderness of the people.
Okay, so we already know the children of Israel, just like the Exodus before, the first Exodus, you do not go from bondage directly into the promised land. See? But see, you got Jake already got their ticket. They already ready. Oh, I'm Israel bound, baby. Yes. Where the hell you going? Go ahead.
You know, that's a valid question also from that trip from Germany to Israel. So when did y'all stop in the wilderness? What wilderness did you stop in on the way back to?
Hey, bro. I don't know where they stopped at. I don't know where they stopped at, bro. Okay? I don't know where they stopped. But there's something seriously wrong with that whole trip. And then, how y'all got there? You know?
Mm-hmm.
How y'all got there? You know? How did all the people get there at one time? You know, we talking about multiple plane trips. If your trip included snacks, chances are it didn't have nothing to do with Yahweh. Read, brother.
And I'll bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face.
There will I plead with you face to face. So at this point, Yahweh is then giving the children of Israel an opportunity to do as he has written. But y'all know we got some real sweet rebels. You know, we got the boisterous rebels who gon', you know, they gonna vocalize, hey, I ain't doing nothing nobody say. Then we got those really sweet rebels. Praise him. Yes. Oh, I'm not going to do that though. Right. They gotta die too. They gotta die with the loud ones. They both rebels. I don't care how nice they are when they're not gonna follow. They are still rebels. And that is one of the problems that Israel is going to have. The fact that we got to deal with some of these nice rebels. They speak just as soft. They smile at you every time you walk by. They look just as sweet as diabetes. Yes, they do. But they not going to listen. They got that too. And how we going to be ready to deal with that? Because when it got time for Moshe to say, cleanse Israel, because they done sat down, built this calf, talking about, here go your gods that led you out of Egypt. Understand who went down there and killed them. Israel had to kill Israel. See, we all talking this junk about us going and taking care of other nations. Before we got to figure out who gonna fight amongst us. Because Yahweh don't let everybody fight for him. You don't just get to sign up for his army. Hey, even if you go down here and sign up for the man's army, what they do, they test you. You got an aptitude test to figure out where you're going to be in their military. And then they got to examine you. They go, oh man, you flat-footed, bro. You can't fight for us. We don't like the way you run. Oh, Yahweh doing the same thing. Hey, man. There's something wrong with your heart. See, Yahweh looking at stuff that we can't see. No. I see something in your heart. You can't fight for me. Sit them on the side. Go ahead.
You know, the sad thing is that a lot of us don't realize, and we've said it before, we're in training right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have people coming here with foolishness, and people, well, how'd you do it? Hey, man, if you in here with foolishness, I'm going to throw you out.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I don't have to kill you, so be happy.
Exactly. All you got to do is leave. You get to go and do foolishness somewhere else. When it goes down, when we get out of here, you don't get to go nowhere and do foolishness. When you do foolishness, you die right where the foolishness happened. That's going to be the last foolishness that you do that day. When you do it, it's going down that day. Go ahead and have you a good party. Because it's going to be your last party. Because when you deal with that, you take the evil out of the land. You just saying, all right, well, we'll let them go. Then that evil got a chance to come back in the land because you let it go. Go ahead.
Verse 36. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, says the Adonai Yah.
And you might have to go to fully get the understanding of that verse. You need to go and read what the children of Israel went through coming out of Egypt. How many times they went against Yahweh. No matter how many miracles they were shown, how many times they completely went against him. Even the times where Yahweh is getting to the point, Moshe, step aside. I'm about to kill all of them. I'm going to build 12 tribes of Moshe. I'm about to kill every last one. See, we forget that part when we start talking about all our tribal this, and we this tribe, and we this tribe. It almost ended up being one tribe. Because he was about to kill all of them off. We keep forgetting that part. He said, I'm going to plead with you the same way. And you go back and read that. That was not a pretty pleading. 11-day journey took 40 years. So we got to get 40 years worth of judgment in 3. Oh, he not playing. So you can go out there playing if you want. Like the brother said, here's our practice. Ain't that worse than everybody practicing their moves, getting ready for the fight. And somebody else is eating donuts and watching TV. And then here come the fight. And they cramping up. And they breathing through their mouth. And it's first round. It's round number 1. How you breathing heavy? This dude just filling you out. He ain't even punched you yet. Go ahead.
And I'll cause you to pass under the rod, and I'll bring you into the bond of the covenant.
If he's going to cause you to pass under the rod, he's going to explain his law, and he's going to give you an opportunity to walk in it. And if you don't, you're out of here. I don't care how many sweet nothings you can whisper in his ear. See, Yahshua, you ain't going to be able to woo him. You ain't going to wee poo poo Yahshua. It ain't going to work. Go ahead.
And I'll purge out from among you the rebels.
See, here come the rebels. See, now, they coming out of the land, but they ain't going into the land. Go ahead.
And them that transgress against me, I'll bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn.
Right.
And they shall not enter into the land of Israel, and you shall know that I am Yahweh.
Right. So they'll come out of wherever they coming out of. But Yahweh gonna make sure they get purged out before they go into his land. Same thing he did the first time. Yahweh don't change. So if we're trying to understand what may happen, just read the first one. He purged them out little by little. And to the point where he said, you know what? This whole generation got to die. I'm tired of giving. All of those were opportunities. Okay? Where he was dealing with them a little at a time, and a little at a time, he got to the point where this generation can only be captive. There ain't no fixing your mind. So I'm going to have to let all y'all die, and then I'll take the children in. So everything we allow, we bring more judgment upon ourselves. So we can play that nice game if you want to. There's some business that's going to have to be taken care of. And we ain't got a generation to do it in. Go ahead.
As for you, O house of Israel, thus says the Adonai Yah, go you, serve you every one his idols, and hereafter also, if you will not hearken unto me, but pollute you my holy name no more with your gifts and with your idols.
Right. Yahweh is to the point where go ahead and serve your God. Whatever God you want to worship, go ahead and do that. Just keep my name out your mouth. So when people tell me, well, yeah, he has many names, I'm like, you know what? You all right. You worship the Lord. Because I want you to keep my God name the hell out of your mouth. Don't mention his name. There's a reason why. No, you know what? Stay with the Lord. Stay right there. And he said, go ahead and worship whatever you're going to worship. Just keep my name out your mouth. And when you get to that point, I said, you know what? You don't need to forcing his name on them people. They really need to go ahead and stay with that name that they're using. Go ahead.
For in mine holy mountain, in the mountain of the height of Israel, says the Adonai Yah, there shall all the house of Israel, all of them in the land, serve me. There will I accept them, and there will I require your offerings and the first fruits of your oblations with all your holy things. I will accept you with your sweet savor when I bring you out from the people and gather you out of the countries.
Countries, plural.
Wherein
Here we go again. Plural, countries. So anybody said the Jews came out of one place, either the Bible line or they line. Go ahead.
Wherein you have been scattered. And I'll be sanctified in you before the heathen.
Right, I'm going to be sanctified in you when they realize all of this might that you have all of a sudden, after being ruled over with rigor for so long, all of a sudden you have this power. Go ahead.
And you shall know that I am Yahweh, when I shall bring you into the land of Israel, into the country for the which I lifted up mine hand to give it to your fathers.
You shall know that I am Yahweh when I shall bring you into the land of Israel. There's some people that their mind won't even allow them to deal on that level. They can believe certain things, but it's very difficult for them to believe that that includes us. That's part of that captive mindset. Go ahead.
And there shall you remember your ways and all your doings, wherein you have been defiled, and you shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for all your evils that you have committed. And you shall know that I am Yahweh, when I have wrought with you for my name's sake, not according to your wicked ways, nor according to your corrupt doings, O you house of Israel, says the Adonai Yah.
Right, you shall know at that point that I am Yahweh your Elohim. There's one thing to say you know with your mouth. There's another thing to say that you know with your heart because of the things that you have gone through. Let's go to Hosea chapter 2. Hosea chapter 2. And we're going to read verses 1 through 23.
Hosea chapter 2 and verse 1. Say you unto your brethren, am I, and unto your sisters, Rahuma, plead with your mother, plead, for she is not my wife, neither am I her husband. Let her therefore put away her whoredoms out of her sight, and her adulteries from between her breasts.
Understand, Yahweh said, Israel, I am married unto you. Go ahead.
Lest I strip her naked, and set her as in the day that she was born, and make her as a wilderness, and set her like a dry land, and slay her with thirst. And I'll not have mercy upon her children, for they be the children of whoredoms. For their mother has played the harlot, she that has conceived them, has done shamefully. For she said, I'll go after my lovers, that gave me my bread and my water, my wool and my flax, mine oil and my drink.
The same thing that we do when we say we're going to go after this money. So all our allegiance goes to the people that we have business relationships with. Because we think that's where our sustenance is coming from. Go ahead.
Therefore, behold, I will hedge up your way with thorns, and make a wall that she shall not find her paths. And she shall follow after her lovers, but she shall not overtake them, and she shall seek them, but shall not find them. Then shall she say, I will go and return to my first husband, for then was it better with me than now. For she did not know that I gave her corn and wine and oil, and multiplied her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore will I return.
Which they prepared for the Lord, which is the same thing our people do. They work from June to December. Go out and set a bunch of presents on the middle of the floor and say, you see what Santa Claus brought you, baby? They've been working like hell to pay for that stuff. And told them that some God with magical reindeer flew all over the earth that night, and he landed on top of our house. Now, we don't have a chimney, so he slid in through the pipes. And right where you turn the water on, that's where he came out at. See, we start making up lies that don't even make no sense. You know? We start making, and I was one of them children that asked a whole lot of questions. Well, wait a minute now. Because it don't dawn on people that everybody don't have a chimney. Because see, you got to think about when this lie was made, the only way to heat a house was a chimney. It was a stove. You had to have something. There wasn't no such thing as a central heating unit. So everybody had a chimney. You see how them lies that you can date a lie? You can date a lie when the lie came together. So now we're telling the lie, and now our folk got to tell an extra lie because we ain't got no chimney. And I was one of them kids. Well, how he get in here?
He came in the water pipes.
And I was one of them kids that question everything. Well, maybe Pookie can get in here too. If he can get in here, we need to get some security around these damn pipes. Right. Go ahead, man.
Verse 9. Therefore will I return and take away my corn in the time thereof, and my wine in the season thereof, and will recover my wool and my flax given to cover her nakedness. And now will I discover her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and none shall deliver her out of mine hand. I will also cause all her mirth to cease, her feast days, her new moons, and her Sabbaths, and all her solemn feasts.
Right. Back up, go back to the Apocrypha. First thing the Greeks did, outlaw the keeping of the Sabbath. Outlaw the keeping of the feast days. So now our people will fight you to the death when you start mentioning the Sabbath.
They said, well, we keep the Sabbath too, we just keep it on Sunday.
They don't understand. They are keeping what the Gentiles want them to do. First thing they attack. They got to go against the Sabbath. They made sure that we couldn't circumcise our children according to the law. All of these things were the things that the Greeks instituted in Israel. And then the other Gentile nations went right behind them. Because if you can cut us off from those things, then we then join to them as a people and do all the things that they do. But our law was keeping us from fully joining with them. So they had to get rid of that. Go ahead.
And I'll destroy her vines and her fig trees, whereof she had said, these are my rewards that my lovers has given me. And I'll make them a forest, and the beast of the field shall eat them. And I'll visit upon her the days of Baalim, wherein she burnt incense to them, and she decked herself with her earrings and her jewels, and she went after her lovers, and forgot me, says Yahweh.
Right. Yahweh says, I'm a very jealous Elohim. They ain't a man around. He get up, and he look up, and this lady got on a pretty dress. She got makeup on. She done put eyeliner on. She done put on earrings and jewels. And she decked out, and she going out the house. He like, where the hell you going?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just finna go to work. Well, who the hell at work? Did you got to dress like that? Yahweh said the same thing. Where you going? Oh, you done got all decked out to go and serve Baal? Right. Go ahead, bro.
Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably unto her.
Same thing. Go to another prophet. He says the same thing that the other prophet said. I'm going to allure her to the wilderness so I can speak comfortably unto her. He's trying to get her an opportunity to follow the house rules. See, I need to get up by herself so we can have this conversation about my law. Because apparently I can't have this conversation while you was amongst the heathen. Because every time I try to talk to you, the heathen keep interrupting. So I'm going to bring her out from amongst the people so that I can have a conversation with her about this righteous law. Go ahead.
And I'll give her her vineyards from thence, and the valley of Achor for a door of hope. And she shall sing there, as in the days of her youth, and as in the day when she came up out of the land of Egypt.
Same thing that he's, and this is talking about coming out from this captivity. You have to ask, like you asked before. When did the Jewish go through this? When did he speak comfortably unto her, separate her, let her go into this wilderness? It says, just like I did in the first Exodus. Go ahead.
And it shall be at that day, says Yahweh, that you shall call me Ishai, and shall call me no more Baali.
Right. I don't want to hear that Lord thing. Don't come calling me that. And he don't want to hear that we have many names. See, when you deal with Ish and Ishai, you're dealing with terms of endearment that go among married people. Go ahead.
For I'll take away the names of Baalim out of her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. And in that day will I make a covenant for them with the beast of the field, and with the fowls of heaven, and with the creeping things of the ground, and I'll break the bow and the sword and the battle out of the earth, and will make them to lie down safely.
To make them lie down safely. And we know, ain't no safe place in Israel. Not right now. They had that machine guns for middle school presents. Here you go, baby. You got your first machine gun. Now show Daddy how you shoot at the people. What? This is your gift? That's normal stuff there. So this is definitely has not been accomplished in the earth. Go ahead.
And I'll betroth you unto me forever. Yea, I'll betroth you unto me in righteousness and in judgment and in loving kindness and in mercy. I will even betroth you unto me in faithfulness, and you shall know Yahweh. And it shall come to pass in that day, I will hear, says Yahweh, I will hear the heavens, and they shall hear the earth. And the earth shall hear the corn, and the wine, and the oil, and they shall hear Yezreel. And I will sow her unto me in the earth, and I'll have mercy upon her that had not obtained mercy. And I'll say to them which were not my people, you are my people. And they shall say, you are my Elohim.
Right, and not by some tribal breakdown, but because our people will accept the dictates of the covenant and walk in it. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 14.
Zechariah chapter 14 and verse 1. Behold, the day of Yahweh comes, and your spoil shall be divided in the midst of you. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, And the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished. And half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall Yahweh go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle.
Right. And it very well could be 2,000 plus years in between verse 2 and 3. Go ahead.
And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives.
So now we're talking about the return of Yahshua. So we're talking about at the end of that span. Because understand, the Euro Gentiles were given a certain amount of time to rule on the earth. All of that has to be accomplished before Yahshua can return. So people say, oh, he can return any minute. No, he couldn't. They got to finish their time. All of that culminates together. The finishing of the rulership of Yahweh, the redemption of the children of Israel, and the return of Yahshua. All of that has to happen at the same time, because each one relates to the other. Go ahead.
And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west. And there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south.
Right, verse 4, and his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives. So we know that where he's going to return is right here upon this mount. So when somebody say, we seen Jesus in Nebraska, you might not want to pack your car and go to Nebraska. And that same thing is said in the book of Acts, chapter 1, verse 11 and 12. That is where he's going to set his feet. So we know where his return is going to be. Go ahead.
And you shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azal. Yes, you shall flee, like as you fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Yehuda.
Right. If you're talking about the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west. And we're talking about a valley being made from a mountain, so that when his feet hit it, the mountain split into two and it makes a valley at this point. You have any idea how loud that's going to be when a mountain moves? See, we'll take off running if the right thunder happen. You gotta imagine what the sound of a mountain splitting in half is going to sound like. So yeah, we're gonna be running, we ain't gonna know where the hell we're running to. People who hear it, they ain't gonna know what to do. We never heard nothing like that. Go ahead.
And Yahweh my Elohim shall come, and all the saints with you. And it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark.
Right, and so we know that these things have not happened yet. Go ahead.
But it shall be one day which shall be known to Yahweh, not day nor night. But it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light. And it shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea. In summer and in winter shall it be. And Yahweh shall be king over all the earth. In that day shall there be one Yahweh, and his name one. All the land shall be turned as a plain from Geba to Ramon, south of Jerusalem. And it shall be lifted up, and inhabited in her place, from Benjamin's gate onto the place of the first gate, onto the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananiel onto the king's wine presses. And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. And this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from Yahweh shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Yehuda also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathen round about shall be gathered together, gold and silver, and apparel, in great abundance.
So if Yehuda then has to fight at Jerusalem, then all of Israel that he brought out from the countries, then rooted them out. The ones that are left over are now qualified to fight for Yahweh. So there's a process. Go ahead.
And so shall be the plague of the horse, of the mule, of the camel, and of the ass, and of all the beasts that shall be in these tents as this plague. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to worship the King, Yahweh of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
Right, and we know that in keeping of the Feast of Tabernacles, there is a appearance that has to be made and an offering that has to be given. So now he's gonna make the nations come up and present themselves and to give an offering. Everyone that is left of all the nations. Go ahead.
And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, Yahweh of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that have no rain, there shall be the plague.
Right. So if they don't come up and give honor unto Yahweh our Elohim through substance, they can't come with just a bunch of word of mouth. See, Tabernacles is making an appearance. They got to come with a portion of their gross national product. Herein lies their offering. And if they said, look, we ain't got nothing to offer, we ain't giving them nothing, we ain't showing up. They gonna first not receive any rain, then receive the plagues after that. Go ahead.
Wherewith Yahweh will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles.
Check this out. The heathen that comes up to feature. One thing that we have customarily always done is kept heathen away from our holy feast. Now he's gonna make the heathen come to. You gotta see the change there. He like the heathen, man. Don't let the heathen up in here. Now he said, boy, you better go get that heathen. Tell him get in here. Because that's the offering that's going to take care of you, Israel. See, the whole earth has taxed you one way or another. You have had to pay tribute. We pay tribute on everything. Every time we buy something. I just bought something, and that's a lesson for your kids right there. You know, the kids saving up, they got their little allowance, you know. They looked up, they said, oh, man, this costs $40, and I got the $40, Daddy. I was like, oh, yeah, good. Here come a lesson in this here. Oh, yes, go ahead. You got your $40. Go ahead and put it down. Now go ahead, go to the register. Put that up there. Put that up there. I ain't going to spoil it. No. They get up there, I got $40. Yes. And they said, that'll be $47.18. Ah! What's that? But they said $40. But when I got to the register, they said $47.18. Oh, yeah, that's your tax. My what? Right. That's tribute. We have been made to pay tribute the entire time we've been here. It's with that money. Who you think bought all them bombs that they've sent all over the earth? We helped buy those. Yahweh said that's their turn. So they better show up here, and they better show up with their offering. And you can't hide the numbers from Yahshua. He said, all right, here we go. We ain't making that but $2 billion last year. Yahshua said, open that book up. Because that book say y'all hid about $4 billion right here. Now go back and go get it and come back. Right. Time for his children to be taken care of. Go ahead.
Verse 19. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. In that day shall there be upon the bells of the horses holiness unto Yah. And the pots in Yahweh's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. Yes, every pot in Jerusalem and in Yehudah shall be holiness unto Yahweh of hosts. And all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them, and seed therein. And in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of Yahweh of hosts.
All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 25. See, you have to consider the heathen made us keep their holy days. Our people looked and saw the happiness and glee that was on the evil slave master when it got to the days of Christmas. We automatically wanted to keep those days. This was the only time that these oppressors was all of a sudden happy. And all of a sudden, people got punished and the workload was all less on those days. Even to this day. Come Christmas, it's hard to even find the police on the street. You find yourself speeding, looking at every block, trying to figure out, man, is it one of them hiding because ain't nobody out? Well, them people during slave time was able to see that. Amen. What a dude that's supposed to be standing over watching to see how much you pick. Where he at? He ain't even come. They automatically, oh, no. Well, then this is a day we need to be celebrating. That's how they taught us to worship their gods. But then again, we should be doing the same thing when it's our turn. Anybody that work for us, when we get in that land, should start automatically asking, hey, what's this Sabbath thing? Because, man, these folks don't do nothing on their Sabbath. They don't even come out. They wouldn't even, I tried to work some overtime. They wouldn't even let me. What is this Sabbath? All of a sudden, they should want to find out about your, man, they're already pretty decent people, but they turn to like extra nice. They be on like a totally different level when it comes to this Sabbath thing. So the foreigner should want to ask about your Sabbath because they should see something totally different about you in your Sabbath and during your feast days. Go ahead.
Matthew chapter 25 and verse 31. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left.
Right. Then one of those things we have to consider. Before the judgment, he was already saying stuff like, let every man go to his own country. So one of the things that mass travel has allowed is for everybody to go in all these different places all over the earth. Yahshua has set order. Everybody need to be in their own country. This is something that people don't consider. Because you look up and people want to go here. They want to go live in this country. They want to go live in that country. When Yahshua come and he see you in some land and you ain't supposed to be there. Hey, what you doing over here? Go home. And he might give you a nice little spank on the way. Cross in front of him. Because it had already done told you supposed to be in your house. See, when it come time to set order, it says every man in peace in his own house. So he said, what you doing over here? But see, that's us. We want to go all over the world. Go in places that we know ain't none of our people at. And if Yahshua show up and you in one of them places, you're going to have you some serious problems. Go ahead.
Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world.
Right. So in other words, for Yahshua to render righteous judgment, everybody need to go back where they're supposed to be so that he can set order in the earth. See, there's a system here that has to be set. Before you, when you come home and your house done been tore up, you call all the children together. Because see, otherwise you got to keep doing the same thing over and over. You got to talk to each kid and explain to them righteous judgment for what has happened into this house while you were gone. Or you can go ahead and get all them kids together and deal with judgment one time. Go ahead.
For I was an hungered, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came on to me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Adonai, when saw we you and hungered and fed you, or thirsty and gave you drink?
Now, you have to consider something. They don't even know to whom they are doing this. See, this is where the test of the righteous and the unrighteous works itself. See, you have a whole lot of people on the earth that are trying to do a whole lot of so-called good to the Jewish. This is how Yahweh tricks and deals with the heart of men. Because, see, they think that they're doing something to God's chosen people, so they're giving all kind of money to Jewish causes. Yet the righteous don't even understand the statement, because what they were doing was just doing good, not trying to do good unto specific people. Okay? So when this happens and this is said to them, they don't even understand it. Go ahead.
When saw we you a stranger and took you in, or naked and clothed you? Or when saw we you sick or in prison and came on to you?
Right. So then you have people who don't even know that when they did this, they were doing this unto the holy people, the children of Israel. They was just saying, look, think about the people who open up their houses to hide black slaves. And now their work is called and they get to stand before it. They say, all right, you got your salvation because, you hid me. You came to see me when I was in prison and you hid me. What you talking about? Who did that? You might have the wrong person because I don't know. I have no idea what it is you're talking about. I didn't come and feed you. And I would have known if I did that to you, Yahshua. First of all, I'm just not learning your name, Yahshua. Okay? So I know I ain't feed you. So they didn't even know that they was doing that. That's something you got to think about. Go ahead.
And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, you have done it unto me.
One of the least of these my brethren. Who is his brethren? Children of Israel. See? But he done tricked the whole world. Lucifer got everybody giving all kind of money unto the German remnants who are over there calling themselves Israel. Yet he said, all these people who did good unto my people, it's like they had done it unto me. Go ahead.
Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was an hungered, and you gave me no meat.
Now, they don't understand who they've not done it to. See? Now, these the wicked. So they have justified their not doing for whatever reason. See, I know you ain't talking about those niggers, are you? Right?
I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink.
Who did that when I saw you thirsty? Go ahead.
I was a stranger, and you took me not in. Naked, and you clothed me not. Sick and in prison, and you visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Adonai, when saw we you a hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto you? Then shall he answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you did it not to one of the least of these, you did it not to me.
You did it not to me. Did you finish that?
And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal.
Right. So then, my elder would always say, you're going to live forever. The question is, where you going to live forever at? But don't worry about the forever thing. You got that down pat. Let's go to Nehemiah chapter 9. See, we have to consider salvation for some nations and some religions is automatically going to heaven. That is what's in their whole makeup is about going to heaven. Salvation to the children of Israel is described in this book as returning unto the land of Israel. That's what our salvation is, according to this book. So then we don't let somebody else tell us their religion's salvation. So now we're looking around trying to go to heaven because that's what their religion said we were supposed to do. So then we go to funerals and let somebody tell us, oh, he looking down from heaven right now looking at us. Why? Because that's what their religion told them. They went off to Valhalla. So now we done took Valhalla with us. That wasn't even our stuff. That was their stuff. Then they took it, merged it in with this book. Now everybody died, float off to heaven. Right. Nehemiah chapter 9, and let's start that at verse 1.
Now in the 24th day of this month, the children of Israel were assembled with fasting and with sackcloths and earth upon them. And the seed of Israel separated themselves from all strangers, and stood and confessed their sins and the lawlessness of their fathers. And they stood up in their place and read in the book of the law of Yahweh, their Elohim, 1/4 part of the day.
Right. So we get a sermon too long and people be having a problem. You talking about standing there for a fourth of the day? We have a hard time doing anything for a long period of time. You start talking about the fourth of the day. Wait a minute, brother. When he gonna stop reading? But these people realizing, hey man, we got to at least start out right. Even trying to cut the strangers off from among them, when our problem we see was not necessarily the strangers. Our problem was in our own heart of wanting to follow the strangers. This is what our problem was. The strangers start doing something, then we pick it up in a minute. Go ahead.
Page 550. And another fourth part they confessed and worshipped Yahweh their Elohim. Then stood up upon the stairs of the Levites, Yeshua and Bani, Kadmiel, Shebaniah, Bunai, Sherebiah, Bani, and Chenaniah, and cried with a loud voice unto Yahweh their Elohim. Then the Levites, Yeshua and Kadmiel, Bani, Hashbaniah, Sherebiah, Hadiah, Shebaniah, and Pethathiah said, stand up and bless.
Now within all of these ones that end in Yah, they left one Jamaican one right there. You heard that? Hear that Hodiah? You see that J-A-H in there? There's a jump. You understand? See, they left one, so it was a Jamaican in here somewhere. You see him in there? Did you see him? I'll make sure you saw him, bro. I know, because Jamaicans see the Jamaicans automatically. I just wanted to catch that. Make sure you caught that. Go ahead, bro.
Stand up and bless Yahweh your Elohim forever and ever. And blessed be you, and blessed be your glorious name, which is exalted above all blessing and praise. You, even you, are Yahweh alone. You have made heaven, the heaven of heavens, with all their hosts, the earth and all things that are therein.
So if you're wondering what's happening here, when our people are coming back from a captivity, then they are pushing to start things off right. Go ahead.
the seas and all that is therein, and you preserved them all, and the host of heaven worshipped you. You are Yahweh, the Elohim, who didst choose Abram, and broughteth him forth out of Ur of the Chaldees, and gave him the name of Abraham, and foundeth his heart faithful before you, and madeth a covenant with him to give the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Jebusites, and the Girgashites, to give it, I say, to his seed, and has performed your words, for you are righteous. And didst see the affliction of our fathers in Egypt, and heardeth their cry by the Red Sea, and showed signs and wonders upon Pharaoh, and on all his servants, and on all the people of his land. For you knew it that they dealt proudly against them. So did you get you a name as it is this day.
So did you get you a name by dealing with the heathen that magnified themselves over Israel. Now you got you some fame here in the earth by doing away with the so-called great ones by a people seemingly powerless. See, they are powerless always until Yahweh puts his power on them. So this is why you see the fear that are in the eyes of all the policemen. We move, they shoot. Everybody's wondering at what point is he going to get them people back their power? And they're afraid ahead of time. But when he give it back, then you're going to understand exactly why everybody was afraid. You don't even know what you really got. You really don't know how powerful you are. When you understand that, it is going to make sense to you. Right now, it just looks like, why would anybody just shoot unarmed, innocent-looking people? When you understand, when he gets some of that power back, you're going to realize why the nations were so afraid. Go ahead.
And you did divide the sea before them, so that they went through the midst of the sea on the dry land. And their persecutors you threweth into the deeps, as a stone into the mighty waters. Moreover, you leadeth them into the day by a cloudy pillar, and in the night by a pillar of fire, to give them light in the way wherein they should go. You came down also upon Mount Sinai, and spake with them from heaven, and gave them right judgments and true laws, good statutes and commandments, and made known unto them your holy Sabbath, and commanded them precepts, statutes, and laws by the hand of Moshe your servant, and gave them bread from heaven for their hunger, and brought forth water for them out of the rock for their thirst, and promised them that they should go in to possess the land which you had sworn to give them. But they and our fathers dealt proudly, and hardened their necks, and hearkened not to your commandments.
Right, and he's already said, I'm going to bring you out from the countries, but I'm going to purge out the rebels. Go ahead.
And refused to obey, neither were mindful of your wonders that you did among them, but hardened their necks, and in their rebellion appointed a captain to return to their bondage.
Look at Israel go. Appoint us a captain to return back into the land that we were just saved from. So a miracle after a miracle after a miracle to get us out. But now, because we miss McDonald's, we want to go back. Hey, our people said we missed the fish and the leeks. So we're talking about fish and garlic and onions. That we're ready to go back and be slaves for the right meal. Check it out. That's something wrong with your mindset. Go ahead.
But you are a Elohim ready to pardon, gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and forsooketh them not. Yes, when they had made them a molten calf, and said, this is your Elohim that brought you up out of Egypt, and had wrought great provocations, yet you, in your manifold mercies, forsook them not in the wilderness, The pillar of the cloud departed not from them by day to lead them in the way, neither the pillar of fire by night to show them light and the way wherein they should go.
Right. These be your gods that brought you out of Egypt. Why would an Egyptian god bring you out of Egypt? That's a conflict of his own glory. Go ahead.
You gave us also your good spirit to instruct them, and withheld not your manna from their mouth, and gave them water for their thirst. Yea, 40 years did you sustain them in the wilderness, so that they lacked nothing. Their clothes waxed not old, and their feet swelled not. Moreover, you gave them kingdoms and nations, and did divide them into corners. So they possessed the land of Sihon, and the land of the king of Heshbon, and the land of Og, king of Bashan. Their children also multiplied you as the stars of heaven, and brought them into the land concerning which you had promised to their fathers, that they should go in to possess it.
Right. You multiplied the children of Israel as the stars of heaven, which is coincidentally the very things that caused us issues that we multiplied among the people, which is also one of our problems here. Go ahead.
So the children went in and possessed the land, and you subdued before them the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, and gave them into their hands, with their kings and the people of the land, that they might do with them as they would. And they took strong cities, and a fat land, and possessed houses full of all goods, wells digged, vineyards, and olive yards, and fruit trees in abundance.
So, check that out. And they took strong cities and a fat land and possessed houses full of all goods. He said, somebody furnishing your house right now. Yahweh making them pick out. Oh, no. Suck don't like that color. Why don't you get the brown one? They don't know why. They say, you know what? I just thought about something. I should probably get the brown one. Right. Because you decorate my spot. Go ahead.
So they did eat and were filled and became fat and delighted themselves in your great goodness. Nevertheless, they were disobedient and rebelled against you and cast your law behind their backs and slew your prophets which testified against them to turn them to you.
Right. So Yahweh sent prophets. Israel then slays the prophets. Because we don't want to hear what the prophets had to say. Because they are trying to push Israel back toward the righteousness of the law. But we don't want to hear it. So we attack the people. Attacking the servants of Yahweh. Because they're not walking around saying a bunch of niceties. See? And that's what we are accustomed to. Somebody saying a bunch of things that we agree with. As soon as we don't agree with them, we ready to slay them. These are servants. Go ahead.
And they wrought great provocations. Therefore you delivered them into the hand of their enemies, who vexed them. And in the time of their trouble, when they cried unto you, you heard them from heaven. And according to your manifold mercies, you gave them saviors, who saved them out of the hand of their enemies.
He gave them saviors who would then save them once our people get to a certain level of dealing with the heavy weight that was upon us. Okay? We do whatever we want. Here come righteous judgment. Once that judgment goes on for so long, then we begin to cry unto Yahweh. But see, like right now, it's difficult. You got some losing their kids in the street, and others out shopping for houses and cars. So it's hard for the people to cry and pray in unity as one. See, when you deal with, the whole era of the so-called civil rights movement, all those people on the same mindset. Because they were going through the same things together. But having us so diversified and set apart, you got one brother that ain't praying for the same thing that the other brother's praying for, because they haven't even encountered that. Go ahead.
Verse 28. But after they had rest, they did evil again before you. Therefore lefteth you them in the hand of their enemies, so that they had the dominion over them.
Mm-hmm.
Yet when they returned and cried unto you, you heard them from heaven, and many times did you deliver them according to your mercies.
Now, it's two things. Yet when they returned, that is return unto Yahweh, and cried unto you. This is why the push from the initial besieging of the land. Throw away that law. Throw away that Sabbath. Don't keep that Sabbath. See, understand that there are certain things. If somebody is as afraid as we know, it shows that they are. The biggest thing they need to keep you away from is this law. See, a gun is not the the biggest weapon that you can have to protect yourself. This law is. So they have to be more aggressive in making sure you don't keep this law. They say, you know what? I'll let you get a gun before I let you get this law. Because see, this is the thing that's going to drive Yahweh to protect you. That I need to keep you away from. Go ahead.
And testifieth against them, that you mighteth bring them again unto your law. Yet they dealt proudly, and hearkened not unto your commandments, but sinned against your judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. And withdrew the shoulder, and hardened their neck, and would not hear. Yet many years did you forbear them, and testified against them by your spirit in your prophets. Yet would they not give ear. Therefore gave you them into the hand of the people of the lands. Nevertheless, for your great mercy's sake, you did not utterly consume them, nor forsake them, for you are a gracious and merciful Elohim. Now therefore, our Elohim, the great, the mighty, and terrible El, who keepeth covenant and mercy, let not all the trouble seem little before you that has come upon us, on our kings, on our princes, and on our priests, and on our prophets, and on our fathers, and on all your people, since the time of the kings of Assyria unto this day. Howbeit, you are just in all that is brought upon us.
You are just because we have rightfully deserved this punishment. Go ahead.
For you have done right, but we have done wickedly. Neither have our kings, our princes, our priests, nor our fathers kept your law, nor hearkened unto your commandments and your testimonies, wherewith you did testify against them. For they have not served you in their kingdom, and in your great goodness that you have given them, and in the large and fat land which you gave before them, neither turned they from their wicked works. Behold, we are servants this day, and for the land that you gave unto our fathers to eat the fruit thereof and the good thereof, behold, we are servants in it.
We are servants in it. Go ahead.
And it yieldeth much increase unto the kings whom you have set over us, as because of our sins. Also they have dominion over our bodies.
They have dominion over our bodies. Go ahead.
And over our cattle, at their pleasure, and we are in great distress. And because of all this, we make a sure covenant, and write it, and our princes, Levites, and priests seal it onto it.
Right. So now, in going in and understanding all of those things, there is some serious care played or put into reestablishing the covenant of Yahweh our Elohim. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 37. Ezekiel chapter 37, and let's start that at verse 1.
Verse 1. The hand of Yahweh was upon me, and carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh, and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about. And, behold, there were very many in the open valley, and, lo, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Adonai Yah, you know it.
Right. If the valley is open, you know, these things did not come to pass in a very good way. There are bones, and those bones are very dry. So they've been without life for a long time. Go ahead.
Again he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O you dry bones, hear the word of Yah. Thus says the Adonai Yah unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and you shall live. And I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and you shall live. And you shall know that I am Yahweh. So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. And when I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. Then said he unto me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, thus says the Adonai Yah, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army.
So now you're dealing with resurrection, which is what's happening with these very dry bones that are now rejuvenated. And now you're talking about breathing this wind into them, and now they stand up upon their feet, an exceeding great army. So it is resurrection, and it is the resurrection of the children of Israel. Go ahead.
Then he said unto me, son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel.
The whole house of Israel. Go ahead.
Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus says the Adonai Yah, behold, O my people, I will open your graves, and cause you to come up out of your graves, and bring you into the land of Israel.
See, this is where our salvation is. Our salvation is returning unto the land of Israel. Everybody else's salvation is going to heaven. That's theirs. You let them take that Valhalla stuff wherever they got it from. That's not ours. See? So people like to have us looking for the wrong thing. And if we was already in Valhalla, when they open the graves, who the hell coming out? We supposed to already been in heaven. Go ahead.
And you shall know that I am Yahweh, when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall you know that I, Yahweh, have spoken it and performed it, says Yahweh. The word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, moreover, you son of man, take you one stick and write upon it, for Yehudah and for the children of Israel his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it, for Yosef, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel his companions, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in your hand. And when the children of your people shall speak unto you, saying, will you not show us what you meaneth by these? Say unto them, thus shall the Adonai Yah, thus says the Adonai Yah, behold, I will take the stick of Yosef, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Yehudah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand.
Right. And to keep the lie up that's being told in Israel, you can't even discuss the lost tribes or anything like that, because they don't want to hear that. Because eventually they know that story is going to reveal some things about who they are. But this book said that he's going to join those together. Yet go and talk to the people that's in the land. They said, no, we don't want to hear nothing about no lost tribes. We don't want to find no lost tribes. So they're not interested in what the prophecy says. Go ahead.
And the sticks whereon you write it shall be in your hand before their eyes. and say unto them, Thus says the Adonai Yah, Behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land.
Here we go. Another verse about the same thing, about the children of Israel and their salvation happening within being returned unto the land. But we keep letting people tell us that our salvation, understand, if you get the salvation of the heathen, do you understand that you have to die? Because there's no part where the heathen says in their salvation that you can just go there without dying. You have to die to get their salvation. Go ahead.
And I'll make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, and they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions. But I will save them out of all their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I'll be their Elohim. And David my servant shall be king over them, and they shall have one shepherd. They shall also walk in my judgments, and observe my statutes, and do them.
We won't be those people that just put, the commandments on the wall, but then we can list how many of those we ain't gonna follow. Go ahead.
And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever.
Right, because even though he is a king, he will also be under Yahshua, which then makes him a prince. Go ahead.
Moreover, I'll make my covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I'll place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yes, I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. And the heathen shall know that I, Yahweh, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore.
Right. So Yahweh is going to get him some glory by returning unto Israel all the things that he has taken away. So let that those things sink in as we begin to watch the things that are taking place here in the daughter of Babylon, and things are going to get a lot worse. They always get worse before they get better. But at the end of the day, these things have to happen to move the leaders of the nations to go ahead and do the things that they need to do to bring about the return of Yahshua and ultimately the redemption of the children of Israel. I wanted to, that's all that we're going to do for today, but I did want to make a few announcements before we departed. We are, we're going to do our Bible trivia today. You guys should have gotten a email because we are doing those things. I know we're new to it, but we need to present ourselves on that as if we're keeping the Sabbath. So brothers need to be dressed accordingly, and if you just want to show a picture, if you have a still image and just want to talk, that's completely fine. But we need to keep this Sabbath, because this is some people their only opportunity to keep the Sabbath with us. So I don't want anybody to be, on there with their muscle shirts on, trying to flex while we going over, Bible trivia, and and likewise, sisters, head covering, present yourselves in that manner. And if you just want to, put a blank screen up there, that's completely fine. But it's going to be a point where we're going to show who's there on the televisions that we have here. So I need to make sure that people understand that that is, able to be viewed. So you need to, keep that in mind when we get ready to do our Bible trivia. We're also beginning to open up the doors to back before, but we have changed the way the seating is. So we got, space in between those seats. So there's a certain number. The sisters are in one area, the brothers are in another. When we fill up, we fill up. So we are opening it back up. But if you are late and you are without a seat, then we'll see you next week. And maybe we'll see you next week earlier. And if you are coming from out of town, you need to contact us beforehand so that I can make sure that those things are set aside for anybody who's coming from out of town. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.